Take folks from their native land, their native country, you strip them of every piece of dignity of life, and you make them work, and you make them work for free.
I don't think we're ever going to have a healed country until we address the root of the harm that has been caused in the United States.
We were promised 40 acres and a mule after slavery. Obviously, those promises were broken.
African Americans, Black Americans supported our struggles for justice.
It is about how much pain was inflicted upon thousands of American people who happen to be Japanese in terms of ancestry. But this Black American cries out as loudly as my Asian American brothers and sisters.
What's the location of emergency?
Pier 14 next to Embarcadero Ferry Building.
There's a lady that collapsed. We need medical and police assistance immediately.
We got one victim. It's a female PSW to the back. It's going to be a 31-year-old.
We were walking arm in arm on Pier 14 in San Francisco, enjoying a wonderful day. Suddenly a shot rang out. Kate fell and looked at me and said, "Help me, Dad."
Now facing murder charges, undocumented immigrant Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez told a judge he was not guilty.
From the very outset, I said that this very well could be an accidental shooting.
Today is about the Steinman family. We're going to do everything we can to bring this family justice. Please clear a path.
Why did you shoot that girl?
Our obligation is to ensure that he'll get a fair trial. And that's going to be the challenge here.
I noticed a man on the pier. I thought he needed some help and maybe some attention.
It was a random encounter, but the details have sparked a political firestorm.
Kate Steinle, gunned down in the sanctuary city of San Francisco.
Nothing about his immigration status, nothing about the fact that he is born in Mexico had any relevance as to what happened.
I don't think I've ever been in a courtroom with that high stakes, where so much national attention was focused on it.
The case has sparked a national debate over immigration and sanctuary cities.
Bill takes wall! Bill takes wall!
There is rather surprising.
They rendered a verdict to the best of their abilities in accordance with the law.
They've worked their way past column A's and column B's, past no starch, please, to become our nation's model minority.
Forget poor, huddled masses. This wave of immigrants is highly educated and successful.
You know, the country overall has been so poisoned by this notion of the model minority racist myth.
We were offered limited access and privileges towards proximity to whiteness, and the exchange is that you have to allow society to use you.
It's just factually incorrect. One moment we're being held up as a model minority, the next minute we're an existential threat.
Tonight, a dangerous virus now spreading rapidly in China.
There's new video tonight of another brutal attack on an Asian American.
Of the 8 victims tragically killed in the Atlanta mass shooting, 6 were women of Asian descent.
up, everyone, and welcome back to the cafe. You have tuned into episode 4 of the Nichi Bei Cafe, a mixed plate of Japanese American news and culture. My name is Ryan Yamamoto, and I will be your co-host for today's program.
And my name is Kelly Okoi, and I am your other co-host. This monthly live stream program is brought to you by the Nichi Bei Foundation and Nichi Bei Weekly.
Today, we are excited to present to you the 4th episode of the Nichi Bei Cafe, featuring stories centered around AAPI Heritage Month and a tribute to seniors in our community through a series called Genki Aging. We've got some great history in the rotisserie for everyone today.
The Nichi Bei Cafe is a place where we can all gather together and share stories of community and culture with you right in your living space. Since we haven't been able to gather and connect the past 2 years like we used to, we hope to gather here in this virtual cafe. We have met some amazing people so far.
If you enjoy what we're doing here at the cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to our channel. Also feel free to leave us a comment if you have any suggestions for future episodes or if you just want to say hi.
Without further delay, let's start the cafe.
When I was 18 years old, I did an internship at the Korea Times English edition, edited and founded by K.W. Lee, the journalist in our film. And it was upon meeting him that I found out about the Chol Soo Lee case. He had written a series of stories that helped spur this movement to free a wrongfully convicted Korean man from prison. I couldn't get the Chol Soo Lee story out of my mind. And that's because almost a year earlier, Chol Soo Lee had died at the age of 62. I had attended the funeral to write an obituary and also really just to see K.W. Lee because I was worried about him. I know it was a deeply painful loss for him, and he never expected to outlive Chol Soo Lee. But it was really, looking back, it feels like it was at that funeral where the seeds of the idea to make a film were really planted, although, we didn't know it at the time. When Eugene mentioned making a film together, I just remember saying well, somebody needs to make a film about the Chol Soo Lee story. And so Eugene and I just decided we would do that. We would dig in and excavate the story. We both recognized it was just too important for it to be forgotten, and it could have so much impact within our community and just really for everyone, not just within our community, for everyone.
I'm eternally grateful that Julie said yes at that point to this pitch. But the thing I think I did know at the time and why I thought Julie would be a wonderful person to work with was not just because of our shared sensibility or our shared work history, but just her connection to the story and her passion for it. I knew were just there and were going to be so important to get us through this entire process, which has taken 6 years for us to finish, which ends up being kind of an interesting rhyme with the movement itself, since the movement to free him also took about 6 years.
Gosh, so many tie-ins to Sacramento. First of all, with K.W. Lee, he was chief investigative reporter for the Sacramento Union at the time. This story, and Chol Soo Lee was arrested in San Francisco for this murder. And yet, so that was outside of KW's beat. And when he found out about this case, he felt very strongly about it, even worked on his own time. Jeff Adachi and David Kakashiba and others who are part of the movement. They provided this youthful energy, this idealism.
I first heard about the case from Peggy. It was in the summer of '78. She was in Sacramento, and I was home for the summer from my first year at Berkeley. And she told me about the Chol Soo Lee. So I was telling Jeff about this case and what Peggy was saying. And he says, he says, shit, let's go see this K.W. Lee guy.
So there are a lot of Sacramento ties. We should mention also Grace Kim and J.U., the older members of the movement.
There happened to be this vibrant Korean immigrant community in Sacramento as well, led by some of the people that Julie mentioned, J.U., who was a law student at the time, Grace Kim and Luke Kim. Grace Kim was a teacher, Luke Kim was a Dr. Luke Kim, I should say, as a psychiatrist. And they were people who were not only active leaders in the Korean community, immigrant community there, they were very politically engaged. I mean, a lot of these immigrants were anti-communist because they had come from Korea and had experienced just sort of everything that happened in Korea during the war and afterwards, while many of the younger Asian American activists were inspired by Maoist or other kind of very left-wing thoughts. So the fact that they were able to work together on this case, I think it just presents a really interesting case study in terms of how an Asian America that is inclusive and can include everybody along that spectrum can really exist.
And when this Chol Soo Lee situation came along and I began hunting for an attorney who wouldn't give, no attorneys would give me the time of day. And that just kind of fueled this idea that I should go to law school and become an attorney.
The first time he called me, I remember, you're getting these collect calls and I'm like going, oh my God, it's Chol Soo, It would always be in the middle of the night for me because, he's like waiting for, in line to be able to use the phone and stuff. And so he'd always laugh. He goes, I can't believe I call you. It's 3 a.m., in the morning and you just answer the phone and it's like, hi, He'd always call me though. It's because he would have been waiting hours, to use the phone. And then I'm 3 hours ahead in New York. So it'd always be about 3 or 4 in the morning. He gave us an enormous opportunity to band together and do something really good. And that's what Chol Soo gave us.
And for the fact that Asians came together to support Chol Soo is kind of breaking some taboos. I mean, my mom and dad is going like, he guilty.
We didn't have a good plan for him, a reentry plan and support that you need. I just think that that's really was more immaturity, I think, on our part and the movement's part too. We fought for his release. That happened, but we didn't create in the deepest way how he needed us more once he got released. Despite everything, he was still fighting and surviving. So I really admired him for that and never stopped. He was at his core an incredibly loving person, generous, loving, caring, at his core. That's who he was. He taught me so much. I loved him a lot. I think you could tell. Yeah. I loved him a lot. I still do.
But being able to tell the story was a way that I hope, can not only connect this moment to this history of resistance and this history of Asian Americans fighting, but to maybe inspire and push along even more what's going on.
K.W. Lee has said, people without a history are hollow. And I think for Eugene and myself, sharing this story so that especially Asian Americans know that this is part of their history, in terms of this victim of racial profiling, this immigrant Korean journalist who rooted out this injustice and told people about it, this movement of resistance led by odd combination of Korean immigrants and third generation Asian American activists. Like, this is part of our history. This happened. This is the truth. In our film, you can actually visualize what the movement sounded like, what it looked like once people are armed with this history. Hopefully it'll make Asian Americans think about what our roles are in creating a more just society. There could be just a real legacy for the Chol Soo Lee case even today.
If you are in the Sacramento area on May 21st or 22nd, please stop by the Sacramento Asian Pacific Film Festival at the Sophia, home of B Street Theater. You can learn more at sapff.org/2022.
Next, we will have a video recipe for pan-fried pork belly by Namiko Chen of Just One Cookbook. Please enjoy this month's tasty sample of Japanese cuisine, which we hope you may be able to follow along and cook for yourself.
Konnichiwa, it's Nami from Just One Cookbook. Today I'm excited to share a recipe that was featured in Kodoku no Gourmet. In this popular Japanese drama, the main character dines at real-life restaurants in Japan. In one of the episodes, the main character Goro-san enjoys this delicious ginger pork belly. Any variation of ginger pork got to be one of my favorite Japanese dishes. It's so easy to put together. Now let's get started. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more easy Japanese recipe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon in my next video. またね!
Thanks to Namiko Chen for that delicious recipe. And now for the first main course. As you know, May is AAPI Heritage Month across the country. We are honored to highlight one of the 3 honorees from Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in San Francisco, NBC Bay Area reporter Robert Handa.
Robert has been a constant supporter of the Nichi Bei Foundation and its activities such as the Soy and Tofu Festival. As a matter of fact, he recently emceed on the Peace Plaza stage at the last Northern California Cherry Blossom Festival, filling in for the late George Yamasaki Jr.
We appreciate all that he has done in uplifting the Asian American community, whether it's hosting his weekly talk show, Asian Pacific America with Robert Handa, or reporting for the NBC Bay Area News.
Please enjoy our chat with APA Heritage Month honoree Robert Handa.
Hello. May is API Heritage Month across the United States, which commemorates the first Japanese immigrant who arrived on U.S. soil and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. Here in San Francisco, we celebrate Asian Pacific Heritage Month with a local flair. This year, our community's award-winning reporter for NBC Bay Area News, Robert Handa, is honored for his inspirational work in the Asian American community. Robert's tireless support of our community is shown by example as recently as MC of the 55th annual Northern California Cherry Blossom Festival, or previously at Nichi Bei's own Films of Remembrance and Soy and Tofu Festival. Nichi Bei weekly writer Tomohiro Ai caught up with Robert at the press conference announcing his award for inspirational achievements.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not used to being the center of attention. I'm used to covering people who do it. So it's quite an honor, and I really like the inspirational aspect. I mean, that's quite flattering because when you say inspirational, that sort of implies that you're inspiring people to action. And I think that what's important there is that that's what the community needs to do. They need to step up, they need to speak out in this time of Asian hate and everything. So if somebody thinks that what I'm doing, whether it's on the news or for our show, Asian Pacific America, and they think we're inspiring people to action, I think that's the best part.
Robert is proud that he gets to highlight the Asian movers and shakers on his show Asian Pacific America with Robert Handa.
I really wanted to do, in essence, give coverage to groups that didn't get coverage. And so that was really my main thought, and kind of building the show from inward outwards. And so that was sort of the intent of the show. So one thing I'm really proud of is that everybody that is receiving an award here has been on my show before, and sometimes more than once. And so that was quite a feeling of like, wow, they're getting recognized for what they've done, and we've been recognizing them before. So I think that that's sort of the essence of the show, is that we want to get the stories out there of people who don't get coverage, and then we also want to do, the big name people, so that the community themselves can take pride in the fact that there are people out there achieving and doing and leading the way, and hopefully that'll inspire other people to follow.
As an Asian American reporter, Robert feels a duty to bring Asian issues to light.
With Asian issues these days, with the Asian hate and the things that are going on, it gives you a chance to kind of feel like, you know what, I'm going to go out and do these stories to help the community, mobilize the community, and take it a step further than sometimes you do on a lot of other stories. Because it feels like, you're either a journalist who's Asian or you're an Asian journalist. And I feel like, for me, I feel like I'm an Asian journalist. I'm always going to kind of keep the community and the people in the community in mind when I'm doing things, and I'll never really step back. But with the issues that are going on with the community now, I feel that attitude's even more important than ever.
A truly well-deserved honor and inspirational example to our community. This is Greg Valoria for Tomohiro Ai for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Now, on to our second and third main courses, thus named the Genki Aging segments. As we previewed at the top of the program, the Nichi Bei Cafe wants to honor our elders who gave and continue to give back to the community and the organizations that support them.
We want to start off with a short film about activist Chizu Omori called Chizu Omori's Antidote to Aging, a piece by her sister and award-winning filmmaker Namiko Omori. This piece originally appeared during the Nichi Bei Foundation's 2021 Day of Giving.
I don't really think about staying young. It's just I've been lucky in that my health is, pretty good, and I come from a family where people seem to live a long time. But I think that, I have a wide range of interests. Like, I love watching documentaries and movies, and particularly nature documentaries. I love all these animal shows. And I also have a lot of, like, a variety of friends, you might say. At my age, you have to make friends because you're losing friends all the time. And so I think it's important that, part of being active in groups is meeting new people. I feel blessed that I do have very interesting, active friends.
I'm an activist, and I have been since I was quite young, always tried to join a movement or a club or get together with other people who are like-minded. So over the years, provided me with much to do, including a lot of letter writing and postcard sending and phone calls to my congressman. My sister Namiko and I have participated in a weekly vigil here in Oakland. Every Friday, for 1 hour, we meet with a group of people and we hold up our signs, and this is our sign, Yellow Power for Black Lives Matter. And we need to show that we Asian Americans are interested in everybody's welfare, not just our own. This was back in the 70s and 80s when the redress movement began to pick up steam. I was living in Seattle at the time and got very active with the committee that was working on redress in Seattle. I became a named plaintiff in this class action suit against the government. It was William Honoree versus the United States, and I was one of the members of the class. And we got our case heard before the Supreme Court, so that was a great learning experience. You know, that was a very memorable time, being able to have our case heard at the Supreme Court level. And winning redress was a huge, huge psychological boost for our community, because it showed that even a small, relatively powerless group can prevail if we organize and put our shoulders to our tasks.
Writing for the Nichi Bei has been one thing that has kept my mind going. I've done things like movie reviews and book reviews. That way, you know, those are like little tasks that are set before me, and it really helps to have something concrete to work on. That's a real gift. I've been blessed by having the opportunity to talk about things that interest me.
When Trump came along and changed U.S. policies towards people who were seeking asylum at the southern border, and actually separating families and treating the children so poorly, a lot of us Japanese Americans, that resonated with us, because something like that had happened to us. And so we went to these detention centers to protest against the treatment of asylum seekers, and also for the family separation policy. And we needed to show our support for these asylum seekers who had every right to come to the border and ask for asylum. Well, I'll tell you, I've never been arrested, and perhaps that should be on my bucket list. However, well, there's still time, and I am not afraid to be arrested. Even though I'm 91 years old, you know, if it's something that I need to do, then I will protest. I'll be protesting till I get so feeble that I can't do it anymore. But it gives me great satisfaction to be marching and to be letter writing and to be speaking out against the injustices that I see out there, particularly against peoples of color.
Thanks to Chizu Omori, who just turned 92 last week, for being such an inspirational hero to many. In addition to being a Nichi Bei columnist for more than 2 decades, Chizu frequently volunteers her time on various committees for the Nichi Bei Foundation.
Next, we will highlight 3 local Bay Area organizations serving seniors in our community. You will get to know more about UIKAI, a senior center serving our South Bay community, J-Sei, a senior center serving our East Bay community, and Kimochi, serving the San Francisco and Peninsula communities.
As part of our Genki Aging series funded by the JA Community Foundation, our goal is to empower the fastest growing segments of the Japanese American community, its seniors. We hope to accomplish this by bringing awareness to our community of local senior services. We visited with UIKAI, based in the heart of San Jose's Japantown, where it serves great needs to Japanese American seniors in the greater Silicon Valley area. We sat down with Jennifer Masuda, Executive Director of UIKAI, to talk about their services.
We were formed by San Jose State students back in 1974, and we have just celebrated our 48th anniversary this past February. The San Jose State students found that the Issei's were not receiving services and activities, lunch programs, because they were for all English-speaking participants, but no Japanese services.
UIKAI offers social services to provide connection to senior services that seniors need, like caregivers, shelter, and food. UIKAI also provides in-house services.
We also have a senior daycare, and that is actually an adult daycare. The participant or client can actually come to us from 10 o'clock to about 2:30, and that we feed them lunch as well on site. But we provide them mental and physical stimulation. They also get socializing. So that provides respite for caregivers, really. And if you think about during this pandemic, a caregiver had to care for someone 24/7. There was no break for them. It's actually our senior day service program was what brought me to UIKAI, because I cared for my grandmother. But it is an excellent program.
Not only does UIKAI provide services to seniors, but also to their caregivers as well.
So UIKAI also offers a caregiver support group, and that actually provides respite also for the caregiver. But it also provides a group of other people that have similar experiences. They can share information with one another. They can vent to one another. But it's also a way to learn.
UIKAI, like many senior support organizations, provide lunch programs for seniors.
Pre-pandemic congregate site, and then also deliveries. And we do about an average anywhere between 120 to 140 per day. And since the pandemic, we just do this drive-through operation, and it's been a couple of years since we've been doing that.
Providing healthy aging is another aspect that UIKAI provides.
So UIKAI offers various wellness programs at different levels. So for the very vulnerable, we have wellness checks, and that's actually performed by our social service department, where they actually visit their clients at their homes, check in and see how they're doing, and also they get their vitals at that time, and also help monitor their medications. But we also do in-house screening. That's our wellness program as well. We have hearing tests, regular blood pressure checks. We also do a wellness program in terms of education. It's called Kenko Living Series. And for an example, we're having one tomorrow, May 4th, and that is covering senior scams. And our speaker is the SF Senior Attorney General Inspector, and he's actually going to be covering real cases, of course with the names changed, with the seniors. So they're very aware about these scams that are happening at the moment. And that actually helps them with their health, but also provides a great deal of information for them to keep them safe. And we also provide a lot of activities for the seniors, and that could be cultural type of programming, trips, exercise programs, arts and crafts, and more. For our most popular classes, I would say it's posture fit, and that's very much focused on strengthening your core. Enhanced fitness is a very popular class. When it is live, pre-pandemic, we used to have about 23 to 24 clients actually, or participants taking the class.
I'd heard about a lot of these classes, from seniors who were taking them, and into the 80s and 90s, and they were in fantastic shape. And I wanted to make sure that I paved the way, and I started my retirement getting myself back into shape, and hoping that I can continue to do this for the 25 years I've seen some of the other seniors doing these classes.
A very popular class is Introduction to iPad, and actually it has split off because people have progressed in their level of technology knowledge, and so we have a beginning class that happens on Monday mornings, and then there is also like an intermediate/advanced class that happens Monday and Wednesdays.
The pandemic tested the resilience of UICAI, and like many social services, they had to quickly reinvent.
For UICAI, the pandemic really threw a curveball for us. I'm sure that was the case for pretty much anyone in business. But you need to adapt, and you need to find a way to service your clients. During the pandemic, many of our activities went virtual via Zoom, like our iPad class, yoga classes, and such activities. The silver lining to the pandemic has been fundraising and donations. Just so grateful to everybody's help. We couldn't have made it through this without everybody's help.
As we get more deeply immersed in technology, Jennifer reminds us of some of the challenges that seniors face during the pandemic, and she encourages new product developers to keep seniors in mind.
Technology for sure is very important for seniors. I think we got a glimpse of that during the pandemic when people had to sign up for vaccines via a website. It sounds great and easy for many of us, but that created a lot of challenges for many seniors and left them kind of in a lurch. So, our social service department had to kind of pick up the pieces there and help connect these seniors. I think that's very important for the future for our youth, is when creating things to remember how it's going to affect seniors and also the equity piece. Not everybody has access to technology. For UICAI specifically, and I think maybe other Asian American type of organizations, the challenge will be membership. As the Issei's, very few left. We have the Nisei, and more importantly Sansei. People are saying, oh, it's the silver wave, there's this great opportunity. And I think there is great opportunity in that. However, the senior of today is not the senior that I remember, like my grandparents. They're much more active. So it's about keeping up with the changing times, providing services that would be interesting to them, which, that is different than what we are currently offering, some of our offerings, I think. I think they want something more special, things that that serve their interests at the moment. Everyone's going to be English speaking, majority of them, but our demographic of the community is changing as well. So, it's about, for us to, we're looking at being more inclusive. However, our strength will be sticking to our roots, meaning our heritage, in continuing to offer Japanese cultural type of activities like ikebana, shinbuyo, kimono dressing, and such.
UIKAI means a place for friendship and love, and this place embodies those traits. This is Greg Valoria for the Genki Aging series at Nichi Bei Cafe.
Grew up in this community, worked in grocery stores, played youth sports, coached youth sports. My uncle was a cook and chef, and I worked through the cooking industry. Being able to see all facets of that and being able to kind of combine it all together here has been really great, because I just feel like I'm feeding my grandma every single time. And with the pandemic, I was able to bring in a lot of chef friends from the community to be able to help me produce a lot of these meals, and a lot of them have worked decades in the industry. Very talented people that are my mentors, peers that I've worked with, that have worked at all the best restaurants, worked with some of the best chefs around the Bay Area and further around the nation, and to be able to have them in the J-Sei kitchen to help us cook all these meals for everybody, to me it was just inspiring. As I scale on a larger amount now, per meal we're doing 40-50 pounds of protein, 40-50 pounds of vegetables. I try to make everything from scratch. We're trying not to use MSG, and I have this opportunity, like, as much as I can, I want to just put my heart and soul into it. It's just really a healing space in so many facets.
So on different tables we have different routes. From there to over there we have Route 1, which is like Richmond El Cerrito, all the way to Route 5B, which is up to the Oakland Hills.
Each lunch meets 1/3 of the recommended dietary intake for an older adult. So the food is low sodium, low fat, low sugar, and we try to design the menu based on traditional home-style Japanese meals. So we want to make sure it's food that's healthy and also food that our clientele will enjoy. So we get food from the Alameda County Food Bank. So we keep items in stock to supplement the food that we deliver to seniors. Our nutrition program is definitely an essential service for keeping seniors in our community independent and in their homes for as long as possible, delaying the need to go to a skilled nursing facility or assisted living facility. So oftentimes we're serving really the most at-risk population in our community. I think what makes our program stand out is really the heart and the caring of the people we have working here and volunteering here. Not only do our volunteers go and deliver, a healthy, nutritious meal to our seniors, but they're really delivering a smile. They're checking in on these seniors. We've had cases where, our volunteers are really the only lifeline that these isolated seniors may have.
My father also is a client of J-Sei. During the pandemic, I started up doing kitchen also and delivering once a week. I really like to deliver to these people that some of them I grew up knowing, and I get to chit chat with them for a few minutes.
Being a senior and I can't drive and get out, my kids bring me dinner and things like this, but then on Monday, Wednesday, that's why you have J-Sei. So they're really good about that. It's been wonderful.
We haven't played together before, close to a year and a half, maybe 2 years. We're just doing Zoom, and that's not a lot of fun if you have 11 band members.
Fuzzy and his wife Jerry have been participating in some of our programs and joined a new group that we have, which is called Aging Together. And they have developed a really strong bond with one another.
Everybody trusts everybody. You can say whatever you want.
We'll get in the front, all right, now?
Yeah.
Front. Okay.
Yoshi came to live with us
going on about 5 years ago, and I found J-Sei, which was like, I thought for sure some spirits are on my side, because his quality of life has gotten so much more richer, you know, because of J-Sei. You know, at first he didn't want to do Tai Chi, he didn't want to do watercolor. Now he's just thriving.
There used to be a small group of people who would come daily and have lunch here on a regular basis. And one of Yoshi's good friends, Aki, was one of our regular diners. And Aki kind of ushered him in. Yoshi is primarily Japanese speaking, and Aki is very bilingual. So really helped him fit into the fold.
My mom's health, I could see there was just some problems cognitively. It became apparent that she was not really able to live on her own anymore. And I discovered J-Sei, and I saw that there was this flower arranging class, and I brought her to it. At first, she really didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then a little lady named Haruko kind of reached out to her and asked her in Japanese, "Can you show me how to do this?" And my mother has been a floral designer for over 40 years, and she had studied Japanese flower arranging when she was young. And so she started helping her, and it just kind of blossomed from that. J-Sei has given my mom something to look forward to. In particular, she's struck up a friendship with Haruko. It's been fantastic. I don't know what I would have done, especially when the pandemic hit, if we didn't have something to kind of look forward to.
I was so happy that I was able to, learn flower arrangement, because I remember my mother was doing ikebana, but I never experienced that.
I'm just so grateful that this didn't shut down completely during the pandemic, and that the staff and the volunteers still did everything they could to make it as much of an experience and to keep people as connected.
So we've been able to offer the bento where people pick up and then join us online, and we share the same meal and have conversation.
I also do some baking for a movie night with 3 other ladies. So we help make the dessert, and that's a lot of fun.
As part of our Genki Aging series funded by the JA Community Foundation, our goal is to empower the fastest growing segments of the Japanese American community, its seniors. We hope to accomplish this by bringing awareness to our community of local senior services. We visited with Kimochi Inc., based in the heart of San Francisco's Japantown, where it serves the great needs of Japanese American seniors in the greater San Francisco area. We sat down with Steve Ishii, Executive Director of Kimochi, to talk about their services.
Kimochi started in 1971. We're a 501c3 organization, and it was started by Steve Nakajo, Sandy Mori, and they saw a need for the Issei within the community with socialization and nutrition, and actually just accessing mainstream programs and services so that they can get around and take part in everyday life inside and outside the community. And then we opened the lunch program, the nutrition program, in 1974, and that was at Konko Church's basement or activities room. And so then we probably served about 70 to 75 seniors in the community. And then we had expanded since then. And then in '83, we opened the Kimochi Home. And so that's it has 20 beds, and it's for ambulatory seniors. And then along the ways between now, then, and 2016, we had provided activities. It could be cultural activities, arts and crafts. We had hula dancing. And in 2016, we opened the facility in San Mateo. But there's a lot of needs with the social aspect of it and activities. We had a ceramics class, odori, Hawaiian dancing, and one of the most important things that we did was we saw that as the sun went down and when 5 o'clock came around, all the seniors, they just left the community and went home, shut the doors and stayed at home. We wanted to go ahead and extend socialization. So we started this program called Club Nikkei. So we had a dedicated driver and an activities person that would go ahead and plan these activities, whether it's a monthly dinner, an excursion to, say, Sacramento, Yosemite, Monterey, play shows. And so we extended the whole socialization timeline and brought it out to 10 o'clock at night.
The hallmark of Kimochi is their lunch program, which is very visible in San Francisco's Japantown.
Our lunch program, that's where I started as a volunteer. So I've seen it grow from, say, the 75 seniors that we were serving on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, all the way up to the 700 that we did during COVID, while we were only doing takeout only. But we had no volunteers during that time, so it's just reliant on staff to provide and deliver or hand out these 700 meals.
As COVID kind of hit, we unfortunately had a lot of trials and tribulations that we had to go through, but luckily we did not close down once. We ramped up our lunch numbers from going from about 400, 450, including home delivery. We started serving upwards to 700 meals a day, 7 to 750, including the home delivery, with no closures, because we, not only being an essential service, we wanted to ensure that we didn't turn anybody away. So I actually got into this community and through Kimochi, through my grandparents. They actually were a long-time participant of the nutrition program. They're Rose and Bill Fukumitsu.
Being in a dense urban setting with a diverse senior population presents opportunities to help many seniors.
When we work with the city in terms of providing services, we are a densely populated senior focused, community. There's a lot of assisted living facilities within, say, a 8-block radius. There's a lot of retirement apartments. There's low-income housing, more for seniors and their living situations. So.
Not only is nutrition important to seniors, but socialization, something that the pandemic took away.
As we go to social services, we had to close down all visitation. But there's a sense of isolation, and because of isolation, there's deterioration, and that was both mental and physical. So our social workers did a great job. They had started phone trees. They had doing check-ins. But then social workers also, because we didn't have any volunteers, and our volunteers were over the age of 60, we had to make a choice and say, I'm sorry, due to COVID and pandemic, they said, anyone over 60, you might want to stay home. So that was important to us, but our social workers filled that gap.
As Kimochi moves towards the future, volunteers will continue to be the necessary fuel for Kimochi programs.
We've always been a lunch program where we used a lot of volunteers. So when I came on board, we had a lot of Nisei, retired second generation, that had a buy-in to an organization like Kimochi, because it did help and support mom and dad, at that time. So there was this strong involvement with the Nisei. Now, our volunteerism is probably going along the focus of, say, the Sansei generation, Yonsei generation. And so we're hoping that once we come out of COVID, that we can still have that continual giving with the Sansei and Yonsei generation.
In Japanese, kimochi is thought of as a good feeling, and is a feeling you get working with the Kimochi staff. This is Greg Gloria for the Genki Aging series and the Nichi Bei Cafe.
Next, we will have a dessert break with our resident origami ambassador, Linda Mihara of Paper Tree in San Francisco's Japantown, who will teach us how to fold an origami rabbit.
Hi, I'm Linda Mihara, and I do a segment for the Nichi Bei Weekly called Origami Now. And today I'm going to show you a very simple bunny from a single sheet of paper, and it's just absolutely adorable and super easy to do. So let's go ahead and get started. You just need one sheet of origami paper, preferably something that either has pink or red on one side and white on the other side. As you see that, you can see the inside of the ears there. So go ahead and have your sheet of paper. And you also need a pair of scissors because there is going to be a cut that's made at the end of this model. So let's go ahead and get started. So you have your origami paper with the color side face up. So this is the color that's going to be on the inside of the ears, face up. We're going to go ahead and fold it in half into a triangle. So let's go ahead and line up our points, hold it in place here at the points, and then if you start your fold from the center, it goes so much better that way. The paper doesn't shift on you and you have a nice triangle like this. So after you have that, let's open it up. You have a nice center crease that goes right down the middle, which we're going to use as a guide for the next step. Let's take this edge and we're going to bring it to meet this center crease using this point as what I call a pivot. It's going to rotate right on that corner. So you're just going to fold this in so it ends up pointing at you. And it's kind of like if you were to fold a paper airplane. It's the same thing. You're folding that edge in to make a nice long triangle like this. Then we're going to do the same for the other side. So let's go ahead and take this edge and bring it to meet the center, just like that. And make sure it comes to a point at the bottom. And then go ahead and make a crease. So it'll look like this. Now let's take the model and rotate it. So let's flip it around. So now this triangle part here is facing you. You're going to take the point of the triangle and bring it right here where the center crease meets this edge. So we're going to bring that point up just like this and then make a crease. Just like that, looks like a triangle. Now we're going to take the same point and fold it back down. And this is going to be the tail. So if you want a nice big tail, you can bring this down further. Usually about halfway is a good size, but I'm going to go ahead and make the tail a little bit bigger. So I'm going to pull it down just a little bit more and then make your crease like that. So now let's turn the model over and we're going to take this point and bring it all the way down to the tip of the tail, folding this whole thing in half. So let's go ahead and do that. Line it up and then make your crease just like this. Now let's turn this over and I'm going to rotate it this way so that now it looks like this, and you can go ahead and do the same, because what we're going to do is take this and fold this in half lengthwise. So we're just going to take this and fold this in half so it looks just like this. Now we're going to lift it off from the table, and if you hold this here And you see this panel here, it'll move. You want to bring it out at an angle. So we're going to lift it up right about here. And then we're going to pinch and fold this into place. So you just want to pinch this part here, and now it looks like this. So we've done all the folding for this model. Now go ahead and get your scissors, and we're going to cut right through the middle of this flap here, about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way down. This is going to create your ears. So let's go ahead and cut down here. And it's just a little bit past half, like that. And then, now you have your 2 ears. So now it's a matter of opening the ears just slightly so it pops open like this. So just slip your finger into the pocket and just kind of pop it open so that now your ears are open like this. And here is your bunny, but it's missing some eyes. So go ahead and grab your marker or your pen, and let's go ahead and draw in some eyes. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put one here, and one on this side. And there is your cute little one-piece origami bunny. Enjoy. Thanks for joining me.
As we wind down our 4th episode, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy a cocktail hour with our very own Gochiso Gourmet, Ryan Tatsumoto from Kaneohe, Hawaii. The Gochiso Gourmet will share his recipe for Mona Lisa with us.
Hi, it's Ryan Tatsumoto, the Gochiso Gourmet, coming to you once again for another cocktail session where it's always 5 p.m. Today's cocktail I named after a former co-worker of mine. It's called the Mona Lisa. Obviously her name is Lisa. Actually, it could be Mona too, since that's also a first name. But I named it after her because of her love for cocktails. She actually asked me when she bought her new house what type of liquor she should stock in her home bar. And it surprised me that she liked the same type of cocktails that I normally imbibe. Those with a little bit of bitterness, those that are gin based. Because normally 20-something-year-olds, you think that they love the brown liquors, the bourbons, the Japanese whiskeys. And gin is usually associated with old men, like people like me. But she loved gin-based cocktails too, so I decided I would create a cocktail, name it after her. There's several ingredients. What we're gonna start with is grappa. Grappa is basically a rough grape brandy. The refined grape brandies are cognac and armagnac made in France. Italy makes grappa. The difference is they make it by using the expended grape flesh, the stems, the seeds. It has a really pronounced grape aroma, but it's also pretty harsh too. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna upset some native Italians, but I liken it to Italian grape moonshine. It adds like a nice grape flavor and some earthiness. So I'm gonna put 1/4 ounce of grappa. I'm also gonna use 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. This is a commercial simple syrup. You can create simple syrup very easy in your own house. It's just equal parts of sugar and water. You just heat the water until the sugar dissolves, then you just put it in a little bottle and put it in your refrigerator. I just found this at Safeway and I thought it was pretty neat that I could have simple syrup instantly in my refrigerator. So 1/4 ounce of this. And finally 1/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice. I pre-squeezed this a while back. Next, we're gonna add 1/2 ounce of chartreuse. Unfortunately, chartreuse, this is the only way it comes. There's no generic chartreuse that you're gonna find at Bevmo or any liquor store. It's a secret recipe. There's both a yellow and a green. I'm using the yellow one for this cocktail. It's a recipe created by Carthusian monks in the 1700s, supposedly over 130 herbs and spices, and I guess that's why there's no generic. It's a little pricey. It costs $65 to $70 a bottle, but on the good side, Usually you only use a small amount in each cocktail, so one bottle goes a long way. Next, 3/4 ounce of limoncello. Oh, I thought I would have to squeeze this bottle. Add just enough. And finally, 1 ounce of gin. One of my favorite gins is Botanist gin. You can use any gin that you prefer. I'm gonna pour this in a little mixing glass. This is gonna serve two purposes. Number one, it chills the cocktail. You want to stir it maybe about 10 to 20 seconds until you feel the outside getting chilled. It also helps dilute the cocktail because as you notice, there's no mixers in this cocktail other than the scant amount of simple syrup. So it kind of tempers the alcohol bite a little. I'm going to strain it into an old-fashioned glass. And finally, because it's a lemon-based cocktail, a little lemon wedge. I'm gonna squeeze the oil, rub the outside of the glass, and just drop it right in the glass. So again, I'm the Gochiso Gourmet, and this is the Mona Lisa. Kanpai!
Ryan, for the wonderful drink recipe.
No problem. Our tips for this month will highlight senior centers in the United States that are featured in our Japanese American Community Resource Guide, as well as a list of community events coming up in the next month.
First, we would like to invite you to one of our community events, Nichi Bei Day with the A's, which is happening this Sunday, May 15th. Be sure to get your tickets soon at nichibei.org/athletics.
Come join your friends in the Japanese American community as the Oakland A's take on the reigning American MVP Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Angels. Sunday, May 15th, 1:07 p.m. at the Oakland Coliseum. Tickets are $45 for field reserve seats in sections 107R and 108R. Tickets include a free raffle during the game. This is a fundraiser for the Nichi Bei Foundation. For tickets, visit nichibei.org/athletics. We hope to see you at the ballpark.
Joining us for the 4th episode of the Nichi Bei Cafe. We hope that you enjoyed our show and will come back to hang out at the cafe in the coming months. Next month, we will have a preview of the Northern California Soy and Tofu Festival, which will return to the San Francisco Japantown Peace Plaza July 2nd.
And as always, we'd like to take some time to thank the Henry and Tomoye Takahashi Charitable Foundation for their very generous support of the Nichi Bei Cafe. We greatly appreciate our collaboration with you in finding new ways to engage our community during this unprecedented pandemic.
We focused the bulk of today's program on stories related to the AAPI Heritage Month and honoring our seniors in the local region. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.
We wanted to emphasize how our community is thriving through the heartfelt efforts of people of all ages and how local organizations support them to continue living a healthy lifestyle. Through our publications such as the Nichi Bei Weekly, Japanese American Community Resource Guide, and Japanese Culture Guide, we hope to continually inform you and provide you with local resources to start living a healthy and active lifestyle today.
We'd like to end today's program with a nod to the many, many Asian Americans who came before us who have made historic advancements to allow our communities to thrive today. They will be highlighted in Asian Americans Making History by rapper Only Juan, singer Larissa Lamb, and featuring Little Juan.
This song is a cover and parody of the Schuyler Sisters from the Broadway hit musical Hamilton, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda and originally performed by Renee Elise Goldsberry, Philippa Sue, Jasmine Cephas Jones, and Leslie Odom Jr. The song gives a brief rundown of historical events and figures in Asian American history.
And we would be remiss if we did not mention the recent May 3rd passing of former San Jose Mayor, Congressman, and Secretary of Commerce and Transportation Norman Mineta at the age of 90.
Norman Mineta's father, Kunisaku Mineta, served as the San Jose branch manager of both the pre-war Nichi Bei Shimbun and post-war Nichi Bei Times, our predecessor publications.
Thanks again for joining us at the Nichi Bei Cafe.
And now we present to you Asian Americans Making History with Only Juan and Larissa Lamb featuring Lil Juan.
There's nothing that our country needs more than learning our history and who came to our shores. The first Asians came to this land in 1587, broke their backs working with their hands, indentured servants and even slaves. But quietly this country was paved. Exclusion laws tried to suppress and kick us. We fought for you, America. All we did was
work in the mines, work plantations.
Yes, cotton fields.
History's coming.
They brought us here,
needed us,
so we can.
History says that we didn't do much. History doesn't really know. People say history can't be touched, but there's a lot it doesn't show. Look around, a revolution's happening around us.
So let us
make history.
Work.
It's bad enough people say we don't belong. People shouting in the square. It's bad enough they don't care that they're wrong. Blaming us, it's just not fair. Look around.
Larissa, remind me what we're looking for.
We're looking for truth. People we devoted our lives to. Work. Irrigated the farms to. Work. Left our homes so that we can. Work. Whoa.
There's nothing like sweating in the city, except no one ever stopped or paused to call us pretty. Excuse me, miss, I know about the railroads left out of the pictures now. Where did we all go? They said we ate rats. Today they say bats. They aiming to be blaming when they're saying all that.
And they thought it was funny.
Took all of their money, blew up our daddies and minds. Goodbye, Sonny.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So men say that I'm intense or I'm insane.
You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'ma compel him to include Asians in the sequel.
Work.
Look around, fought the wars. How lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around for generations. How lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening, it's been happening. We just happen to be in the most diverse country in the world. Diverse country in the world. Look around, cross the seas. How lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around, created jobs. How lucky we are to be alive right now. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening, it's been happening. We just happen to be in the most diverse country in the world. Diverse country in the world.
Work.
One K Mark.
Work.
Daniel Midaway.
Work.
Larry Ilion. 442nd Infantry.
Anime Wong, Philip J. Song, Dr. Mabel Lee, come on.
Diverse country, diverse country, diverse
country in the world.
Informed by our own community's history as victims of racism during World War II, San Francisco's Japantown stands united against hate.
Sparked by the failure of political leadership and racist intent, hate crimes against the Asian American Pacific Islander community has risen during the COVID-19 pandemic.
As a community that knows all too well the history of racial prejudice, wartime hysteria, and failure of political leadership, our Japanese American community responds, using our own experience as a call to action.
As a community, Japanese Americans cannot be silent while groups are targeted and demonized in the same way we once were.
Now more than ever, our community must speak out for targeted communities, including our own.
Although there has been hate-inspired vandalism, San Francisco's Japantown has thus far escaped physical attacks of hate.
But we must remain vigilant against such attacks, particularly for our vulnerable and beloved seniors.
What constitutes bullying? Unwanted aggressive behavior such as ongoing taunting. What about a hate incident? Racially derogatory statements or insults? And then what about a hate crime? A hate crime is violence or threats of violence that rise to the level of criminal behavior beyond just speech.
Some examples of hate-motivated bullying include taunting one's race, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or physical or mental disabilities. The bullying behavior may also be aggressive, antagonistic, and assaultive.
We need to identify who this is happening to and where. Sharing your information is important.
By gathering information, we can push for better protection, educational resources, and policies that can put an end to this.
Japantown came together in solidarity to stand united against more than 700 hate crimes in just 2 weeks after the 2016 election alone. These appeared to be emboldened by the misogynistic, xenophobic, and racist rhetoric of the Trump campaign.
These hate crimes included physical assaults and racist vandalism. At this event entitled United for Compassion, then San Francisco Public Defender Jeff Adachi told us, quote, "We all need to be public defenders now."
We also recognize the perils of systemic racism. As Black people continuously fall victim to countless cases of police brutality, we echo and support the grassroots movement for Black lives and demand justice and liberation for Black people.
We must continue to address injustices faced by all communities of color, including our Black neighbors in the city's Fillmore district. We welcome any community who wants to stand in solidarity together.
In a show of unity, the Japanese American and Japantown community is taking a clear stand against hate while addressing the fear that has shrouded our communities.
We stand in solidarity for equality,
equity, and the freedom.
We stand for the human spirit.
We stand here
united against hate.
For the sake of our elders and for our children, join us in standing united against hate.